It's Julia Renee.
And Kendall Aaliyah. Welcome back to the Know Your Power podcast.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode. We're both wearing black today.
Should I leave in the beginning of us just staring at the camera?
We're just...
Hi, welcome back. That's how today feels like a Monday. That's how I can describe today.
It kind of does. I remember I remember waking up this morning.
I don't.
And being like, what day is it?
That's me this whole week.
I don't know. Like, Thanksgiving's literally next week.
And then okay, so we always write out, or you always write out, the organized one of us too. You write out in advance, what we're going to be filming.
Yes.
And after these episodes, we're in December. I can't conceptualize that. This was the fastest year of my life, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I didn't do much. You were in prep.
I did all the things.
Preps are such a monumental timeline.
Yeah.
Where it kind of slows time down because you're working on this thing every day. But it's also
fast at the same time. True. Because when you're done with it, you realize how much of a chunk of your year you spent doing
that's
dedicated to one thing. And I think that now I'm like, oh shit.
The year's over. Spent my whole year in prep.
Basically. And that's just my life. And speaking of bodybuilding, we're going to be talking about all the bodybuilding tea today.
We are.
There's so much. We're going to be talking about CBUM and his debut in open bodybuilding, his beautiful mustache, if it comes up. Issa and Fran
drama.
In their wellness drama, which is so sad.
It is.
It's honestly just...
We'll get into it.
I'm not mad. I'm disappointed.
I feel like I was actually I was gonna say I feel like a disappointed mom.
Yeah.
I'm more like the child of divorce, you know? We're my two mothers are fighting. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, exactly. It's like finding out your favorite celebrity, I don't know, had some sort of scandal or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is not that big of a scandal. It's just that
it's not that deep
at all. It's a lot.
All.
So yeah.
We're going to start with my own what the fuck is up at the gym. I have had a rough time. So I mentioned on last week's episode that my birth control was changed. And I was like, I'm feeling a little irritated. I have been mentally unwell from that stuff. It's
not funny, but
it is kind of funny.
Crazy.
The only way I know how to describe it, and I'm sure every girl who's ever had a period can relate, where it feels like I'm just consistently metaphorically stubbing my toe. Everything is just mild irritation, mild anger, mild upsetness. And then if you're stubbing your toe and someone's asking you a question,
ooh,
you're quick to snap. I've been so unwell, and it's not really even external. I've been mad at myself, and then I was letting it affect my gym life, and I felt like I had been the most consistent, had my stride back, was so excited every day for the gym, and then all of this mental and physical, I like that I combine them.
Mentical. It is mentical.
All of my mental and physical little side effects. And again, nothing's that crazy. It's just little inconveniences. I was letting it turn into, okay, I'm going to take a rest day. Okay, I'm going to take another rest day. And I do think that it's important to have some grace in those times, but also there is a point where it's kind of too much. You need to be okay, let's get our shit together.
Yeah.
So I just want to share it as a reminder that even as someone who's been lifting for 10 plus years, I do go through periods where I've been battling my own mental health and physical health to get into the gym and not beat myself up, but still show up for myself. And there's this fine line, and I'm back to consistency this week. But over the weekend, I think I ended up taking 4 rest days. Mm-hmm. And if that was needed, that was needed. Yeah. I'm trying hard now because it's so easy to beat yourself up for doing that. Yeah. To be my progress isn't ruined.
No,
it was just 2 extra days.
There's literally if your progress is ruined after missing a little bit, then it wasn't there to begin with.
No, it
just can't go away that fast. You know?
It's funny because I feel like I'm so quick to judge myself, and I had to almost like imagine I was a listener
yes.
sending in my own story. And I was like, what would I tell her? I would tell her she's literally fine. So that's what I'm manifesting now. I just wanted to share because I know that's like pretty common.
Yeah.
Where like we go through seasons where we're doing really well and then something happens and it's so easy to be like, everything's ruined now and my life is over. And I think it's just about like having baby steps this week where I had been consistently doing like 35 minutes of cardio. And yesterday I did 20 and I was like, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like 20 is still showing up and still doing it instead of just like not showing up at all. So,
and I think that what you said about the judgment makes a lot of sense. And I actually, the yoga class that I've been going to, he always starts with some sort of, it's not necessarily like a mantra, but it's like something to contemplate during your, what's it called? Practice.
Yeah.
And then he talks about it a little bit more at the end. And one thing that he talked about was that it's good to have some sort of like judgment towards yourself with things. Like it's not inherently a bad thing to have it.
Yeah.
And he's like, but there's a point where you're judging yourself too much.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, that enough is enough.
Yeah.
And then you start to feel bad about yourself and like it really affects your day. And that made a lot of sense to me because I was like, we shouldn't be chasing, you know, everything's fine. You know, we're good.
That's when I
you
do
know,
blow up is when I try so hard to like mask everything.
Yeah.
I think it's important to be honest with yourself and be like, okay, like let's get our shit together, but not be so hard where it's then ruining the next week and like continuing a cycle.
Yeah. So I really loved that. And like, obviously like I didn't explain it the way that he explained it, but it just made a lot of sense to me.
I get
and I was like, oh, okay. Like, yes, judgment is good, you know?
Well, I feel like it's so normal. Like we're all hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
Like harder on ourselves than we would be on a stranger. I think it's just about like not being too hard on yourself.
And like the way that I express it like in my own life, like there's moments in prep where I'll just be like, quit being a little bitch, you know? And that's like how I get myself like remotivated. But then there's times where I'll be like, you're being a little bitch. And I'm like,
I am.
What? You know, and it's just such a fine balance. And I completely relate.
I had such a sweet moment. Just like it testified to my boyfriend being just like so amazing and different from any man I had ever talked with previous. I was driving with him to the gym. I was like crying just out of nowhere. He like asked me to change the song, bawled. Like it was so dramatic.
That was just the last straw.
Yep. We pulled up to the gym and I go, I'm just going to sit here for a second. And he goes, I'm going to sit here with you mostly because I'm scared you're going to drive away and leave me here. Oh my God. And I was like, I would never.
I would have been like, no, leave me alone.
I just vented. I like full on, and I'm sharing because I think that's important too, where if you are bottling up all of these feelings about yourself and never letting it out, I started venting and I was like, I'm just pissed at myself and at this like mess up basically with my birth control. And like, I feel like it's making me do this. And then I'm like, that's all I can focus on. And he just like gave me a hug and then some head scratches. And I was like, I'm ready to work out now.
Yeah, and sometimes that's like genuinely all you need is like you don't need someone to tell you what to do or how to fix it or problem solve. Sometimes it's just like I'm just gonna vent.
Yeah,
and I love having that almost like that awareness going into a conversation with like a friend or even like a family member or a partner and being like, this is the different, like,
yeah, like what do you need right now?
Like, what do you need? Or do you need just to vent or do you want to like problem solve it?
Yeah, I almost always just need to vent.
And I think you could tell that he knows you by now and like it just understands like, okay, I'll just hold some space over here.
Well, he always goes like, do you want to talk about it? And in this instance, I was like, I don't know what to say. Like, I don't know why I'm upset. My hormones are just messed up, man. But I got my old birth control back. We're going to be, thank God for everyone involved.
Last week was rough for me too, because I got my period back for the first time in months. So not only like had my body not experienced like the physical pains of it, but just emotionally things were just bothering me that wouldn't normally bother me.
Yeah.
Like if something, like for example, one of my my operations manager texted me about like a minor problem within the business, like very, very, very minor. And before I would have been like, cool, got it, I'll fix it. And I was like, oh my God, like, okay, I'm a failure. And then when I react that way, because I'm not very emotional to begin with, it's almost like a built-in cue that it's like, okay, it's your period.
Well, that's how I know that it's not me, if that makes sense, because I'm like,
it's like a little demon that's inside me just for a couple weeks or so.
I know I used to have a lot of like mental health flare-ups, but like I've been so consistently good that I'm like, if I'm randomly crying, something's happened internally.
For me, it's if I like, I have a group text with my mom and my sister, and we text in it every single day, like without a doubt. And there was one time that no one texted in there, and all day. And at night I was like, I feel like I'm missing something. And I was like, no one texted in here. That's a side tangent, but we send videos back and forth of like cats and dogs and like funny things and like things that remind us of each other's personalities. And I always know when I'm on my period because they'll send me like a cat video and I cry. And normally I'd be like, ha 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 ha, but instead I cry and then I'm like, okay.
What made me cry this week was seeing, and this didn't even happen this week, seeing.
You just reminded me of something. And I think it's going to be the same. Go ahead.
Probably not. Mine's very random. Artists got their Grammy nominations list.
Ours is the same. It's the same, but mine is.
Watching Sabrina Carpenter realize how many she was nominated for, and then she started crying. I started bawling, and I'm not even a Sabrina fan like that.
Yes, and mine's not the exact same one, but it's like,
it was a compilation. So I've seen them all.
It's always like, for me, seeing like the athletes or
proud
or like and I'm like, they just work so hard and then they got their dream, and then I started crying when normally something like that is like more motivating for me, and I'm like, something's up here.
I mean, it always makes me tear up a little, but I was bawling at these strangers' success. I was like, they've probably worked so hard for that nomination.
Imagine what her mom feels.
Anyway.
So I'm glad that, my period's over and I can go back to like normal regulated emotions. And I'm glad that you're off your devil old birth control.
Oh my gosh. It was unwell. I called my doctor yesterday to get my old birth control back. And she was like, you really shouldn't be having side effects.
Okay,
and I was
gaslighting.
I was like, if this is a placebo effect, like, I don't know what else it would be, You're
not normally like that. If it was me, I would have been like, this is pretty normal, but you're not like that.
I'm not usually like, and again, it's not like I was actually snapping, but like I felt that anger in me that I haven't felt since I was like a kid. So
that's just a Wednesday for me.
Like, just to fill y'all in, we went to a rage room on last Saturday,
oh my God,
which was so much fun. And I wish that I had these emotions then.
Oh my God.
I was ready to just beat a bottle against a wall.
Honestly. And I'm surprised that like you weren't feeling that way during it.
I wasn't. I don't know. It keeps cycling. This is the last thing I'll say, and then we can move into the actual tea. I keep cycling between emotions.
Oh, okay.
So it's like I'm not like always angry.
Yeah, I'm not perpetually angry.
I also don't know how to process anger since it's not something I feel often.
Oh.
Yeah.
I could teach you.
You're like, I'll show you how to beat a filing cabinet with a stick. I know.
I went so hard on a filing cabinet. They're like, a rage room is basically you go into a room to destroy it. We put like, I'll have photos and videos on our stories.
I'll add one to the YouTube video
too. It was so funny. There's a video of me and Katie just literally like going back and forth.
My favorite.
I can't believe no one was sore the next day. I was more sore than I have ever been. My back and my abs haven't been that sore since I started training.
It is like a workout. I want to say it's in like I don't want to butcher. I was going to say CrossFit or like strongman. Like it's a thing where people beat like a tire with a hammer. And I used to do those types of workouts, and it is like, it just uses more practical muscles compared to like doing a bicep curl.
True.
You know?
You're not like bicep curling every day.
I just wasn't like swinging as hard as you. So
yeah, I was swinging.
It was so much fun though. Honestly, what a good invention of a thing to do. Like,
and honestly, like anybody can make one. You just get a room. And I was like, this is like in my head, I'm like, this is the easiest business model ever.
I was thinking that too.
I was like, I am paying you to do something that I could do at my own house.
Like we pay
if
someone
I wanted
to like give you a bunch of cups to throw out a wall.
Yeah, I'm like, I could just go to a Goodwill and break cups myself. I could break my own cups if I wanted to. It was awesome.
It was really fun. I enjoyed it.
But let's get into the CBUM.
Okay, moving into CBUM. CBUM had his open bodybuilding show debut. Before we talk about him, I want to talk about his coach. So he has been coached by Hani Rambod. I hope I'm not butchering the pronunciation of that. And Hani, in my opinion, granted, I don't know all the coaches out there, is like the GOAT of coaches.
He's one of the best.
One of the best of all times. He had coached multiple Olympians, including Phil Heath, including CBUM. He has 25 Olympia wins under his coaching belt, which is just crazy. So
he
such
also
a great
seems
guy.
really sweet. Like
nice.
Like when I've seen him in a couple of like videos of the coaches that he's with, and he has such a like tenacity, you know, for the sport, but also a lot of like understanding and like grace and compassion for like where they're at.
Yeah.
It's super cool.
He also has a very unique approach to training. I don't want to try to explain it, so I'll butcher it, but he has a YouTube channel where he shares him training his top athletes. And one of his athletes in my head was like one of the OG girls I used to follow. Her name's Lauren, and she has like the most insane delts. So I used to follow like the workout they had put out together for delts like all the time. So like, I don't know, he's just been a part of my journey somehow, just idolizing him always. And CBUM had posted that while I just remember anytime that I talk about CBUM on my story and I put captions, it captions it as CBUM. So I just remembered that in that moment. Bum.
Yeah.
Hani retired. So this is kind of like, I also think it's just adorable, the bromance of it all, kind of, that he did this last show with CBUM as a coach, you know, and they get to like
in my
retire
head,
together.
He's like, oh, the top athlete that my probably biggest athlete that I have ever coached minus Phil Heath is done, so I'm done too.
He's been coaching
probably
for
not thinking
so
that,
long.
but
I don't know. I just thought that was cute. And then like CBUM had kind of given him his flowers and done like an Instagram post of like, now it's your time to retire and I get to support you. And it was just really cool. I also did watch some of, at the time of filming this, Chris's video isn't out. Like he hasn't posted his show day video. So we're going fully based on like Instagram, other YouTubers, people's reactions. But he did post a video. I believe he was 1 or 2 days out from the show, or at least it was peak week. And I believe Hani was in that. And just their relationship in general is like a really cool coaching dynamic. Now for actual CBUM and his placing performance. So CBUM came in second to a man named Martin Fitzwater,
which is the one that we all expected that he was going to take it.
Do you know who he's dating?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't realize
I saw you put that note and I was honestly just like mind blown.
Yeah, so he's dating Alexis, who is an IFBB wellness Olympian. So I was like, how freaking cool. Yeah. I've always followed her. I've never followed him. So like I have seen him through her posts, but you know when like you're a girl's girl and supporting a girl and you're like, Queen, and he's there, but I didn't realize.
You're like, oh, she's beautiful, and then there's him.
I didn't realize they were such like a dynamic duo. It's sick. So I'm now obsessed with them. Anyway, so CBUM, obviously bodybuilding in general is a subjective sport. We all have our opinions. A lot of people are like, CBUM should have won. I think top 3 looked like top 3. Yeah. And I think they could have placed it however they wanted to place it. So it is really hard on that level to compare such different physiques.
Literally.
But I was not surprised because it's CBUM, but I'll just use the word surprised how well he fit into the open category, like so effortlessly.
Yes. And I thought, like, seeing him side by side by those guys, I wouldn't have told the difference. I was like, yeah, he's there. But just since we've seen him in classic in the certain shape, after watching like some of the videos and commentary, I love watching Greg Doucette's videos. You know, whatever you think about Greg Doucette, he is like strangely like the bodybuilding tea guy.
He covers it all. I just feel like he's not scared.
He's unafraid.
Like there's certain things, like we give our opinions or we cover stuff, but we're not like diving super deep on topics.
Yes.
Half out of like respect for the people.
Yes.
I feel like he's just like,
no, he is
I'll
unafraid.
share it all. Yeah.
He is so unafraid. He made like 5 videos alone just about CBUM in the open. Because honestly, it's going to be good for his algorithm anyways to just see CBUM. But that's where I was like watching the footage of them side by side, and because Saturday is when he competed, right? And like me and my little sister, like our group of girlfriends, like we hung out almost all day.
Yeah, they competed Saturday, but finals were Sunday.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, so I think
totally watched it.
No, I think it was like 2 days of competing. I was trying to just follow along on Instagram. I'm sure they did a live stream, but it was a busy weekend. So.
Yeah, it was busy, but I was like, come on, the people are gonna make some content about it. But what I saw, at least from when I was watching all the videos that Greg made, and I kind of agree with what he said, was that sorry, I don't want to get anyone's name wrong. What's the guy's name who actually took first?
I just said it. Martin.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll just call him Martin.
So Greg was saying that Martin didn't come in as sharp as he looked at the Olympia. And I was like, oh, okay, like that kind of makes sense. Because when I was watching his physique right next to CBUM, he did look a little softer regardless. Like he's still shredded to the bone. Yeah. But like that's what bodybuilding does to your eye, like where you can start seeing where you're holding on to water, where you're not as sharp. Like your lines aren't as like chiseled as maybe the guy next to you. And that's what happens with comparisons, is when you're standing alone, it's like, oh, that's an incredible physique, but you put it next to the other top 10 incredible physiques in the world. That's when you can see those little details. Just like when we were comparing Fran and Issa, where you can see in their back pose that maybe Fran was holding on to a little bit water. Without Issa next to her, she just looks fantastic.
I wonder that too, because open bodybuilding posing is different than classic. And obviously like CBUM had started his career in open, so he knew the poses, but I'm sure there is a difference of like being super used to posing a certain way and having to switch it up versus like being next to an open Olympian who knows exactly his angles
he's
in like the most
this
muscular.
Is my division. You know, I also feel like fans are maybe the ones that felt like he should have won, but I feel like it would be really, really controversial to let someone from a completely different class come in and win over somebody who has been competing in that class.
I agree.
I don't know.
Well, like we've seen figure pros switch to wellness and be on the wellness pro stage, but they don't do it like a month apart, you know, like they actively try and train for it. And I think like CBUM could easily take wins in that division if he was actively training for it, because he does have that classic look. I think it's partially genetic, where he just has a small waist, and that's what they like in classic, and they like just extreme thickness in open bodybuilding. And obviously I don't know like every criteria they're looking for, since it's not like a category I specifically follow, but I would say that's the biggest difference I saw between CBUM was like their waistlines definitely had like larger obliques, just like thicker humans, basically. Usually,
and each division has a specific look. And even though I feel like CBUM kind of seamlessly fit in with it, when you're training, like, and I'm obviously, guys, we don't compete in the men's categories. We're doing the best that we can here. Okay. So give us a break. But when you train for a specific category, especially bodybuilding, which is the most muscular category, your physique is going to be built different than a classic physique versus a men's physique. Just like if you train as a figure competitor or a bikini competitor or wellness, your physique is going to be shaped differently.
Yeah.
So,
it's like you still have quads, you still have delts.
Yes.
But a wellness quad's different than a figure quad, which is different than a bikini quad.
Exactly. That's such
they all have quads.
So funny. Yes. They're just different. And then also like size comes into it. Like you see a lot more bodybuilders being a little bit more short and stocky. You know what I mean? There's a specific height that typically does well in each division. Now, I don't think that this is like a set in stone thing, but if you just look at the divisions and over the years, there's a pattern. And usually with wellness, it's if you're an amateur, class A and class B, they typically win more than the taller classes do.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that the taller classes aren't like at the same level or anything. It's just like on average.
And that's because how we've talked about like our quad differences of like the way a shorter physique carries muscle is a lot rounder, which is what people want in a wellness division.
Yes.
And I think that's also what they look for in open bodybuilding.
Exactly.
They want a lot of horizontal size, if that makes sense to anyone.
Exactly. And when they did their back pose, I think that's where you can really see the difference between a bodybuilding physique and a classic physique, just with the thickness and wideness of the back. Obviously, CBUM, you put him next to the classic physiques and it's like hands down, you're the guy.
Yeah.
But you put him next to a bodybuilder and he's just thicker. And I was like, oh my God,
and they
wow.
do always say, just from like the men bodybuilder I've been friends with, they always say the quote of like, you win from the back, which is like the back pose is one of the most important poses in most of the men's divisions, but especially in open bodybuilding. So that makes sense. Like if everything else, like the leanness and everything like that was comparable, it might come down to a back pose.
Exactly. And also you have to consider like, gosh, what I was thinking about when I was watching Greg's video about the comparisons, that some of these competitors are they're training for so long. Like I feel like that I've trained for so long, but like there's still people that are continuing and going and trying to get that qualification for next year so that they can take a break until like the next season. And there's only so much that your body can do. It can do a lot, but maybe from show to show you can get leaner, but maybe when you push again and too long, then it gets watery, you lose sharpness.
Olympia wasn't a long time ago.
Exactly. So I'm just like, that was something that I was thinking about. I was like, well, was that a contributing factor? I don't know.
Probably.
Obviously, we don't know that much.
I wanted to read CBUM's Instagram caption from the show because I thought it was super cute. And also, I like when I call like things men do like cute, but, but it is. The photo that he had this Instagram caption on, it looked like he was posing in the crowd, which is like kind of sick. Like it looks like he just walked out and started posing. Did you see this picture? Okay, let me pull
He's been posting so much that I was like, I couldn't keep up.
Right
yes. Oh, wait.
Like you can zoom in. He's in the crowd.
I didn't even see him. I saw that photo and I was like, why did he post this photo of just people? I
could be wrong, but it looks like that's what's going on.
It's giving Arnold.
Yeah. Well, and people are very much so comparing him to Arnold, and just like obviously an Arnold legacy is untouchable. And his
doc is coming out too.
Yes. So his Instagram caption on this photo was arguably the most fun I've ever had on stage. My heart is so full of love right now. I wasn't sure what I wanted to feel doing this show, so life decided to show me. It truly reminded I have chills. It truly reminded me why I love this sport so much. The nerves getting on stage, not in any expectation to win, but from the unknown of what's to come and the deep desire to show up my best. The decision to do something for myself, to challenge myself in a new unknown area, not knowing the odds are stacked against me, enjoying the effort and the journey rather than seeking the results. So I just thought that was like
CBUM.
such a mic drop, because that's how we all get into the sport. We do it because we have this hobby, and then it becomes a love and a passion and an obsession. And then we get into competing. And then I feel like sometimes it is easy to lose sight of like, I got into this because it's fun and I love it so much. And now it's just like a game of numbers and expectation, a certain
especially at his level.
result. Yeah, especially at his level, where I can't imagine every show he's done in the past 5-6 years being like, you better win this, you know?
He probably, it is sad that like that is his last show, because I feel like that's a really great nugget of information and a reminder for him to take into his next shows if he was going to do that. Don't forget that this is supposed to be fun, even if, you know, you feel the pressure and all of that. And that's just for anybody that wants to compete in bodybuilding, is what he just said. Don't lose that.
Yeah.
No matter what, because it is so easy to get caught up in, I want to win. And we do get a lot of DMs about girls that, you know, do their first show or, you know, second or third show, and they still haven't performed in the way that they expect. And they're asking us like, well, how do you get back from that? And it's this exactly, is that remembering that why you're doing it is more than getting the trophy, the recognition, and all the things. It's about like, you love it so much that you would do it even if it meant that you didn't win, because so many other things come from it.
I was going to say, it's like, would you do this thing if nobody was watching? Yeah. And I think if your answer is yes, then it's like the right thing for you. If you're doing it for an external expectation or validation, I think that's when the sport becomes like a little messy. And I don't know. We've talked like off camera before about like, we have gone into shows and not won. And we have never had animosity towards other competitors or the results or the judges or any of the aspect. And I think it's because we genuinely love the sport and we love the prep and we love documenting the prep and like going through it. I think if you're so obsessed with winning, it's so easy to like snap at a result that isn't what you wanted.
Exactly. So. And speaking of that,
going into the next piece of drama.
Jesus.
Okay, so for those who missed it, I don't know if you want to like read all of the messages, or we could put them on the story.
We're gonna put all of the messages on the story. Okay. But
so go read those.
Oh gosh.
So Issa and Fran, you've heard us talk about them. You've seen them. We know them. We love them. They are the top 2 wellness pros. Just a little recap. Fran was the reigning Olympia champion for I almost just called it open wellness. I'm so
LOL.
I'm so into open bodybuilding right now. In wellness. And then during this past Olympia, a month or 2 ago, Issa, who was consistently second for the past few Olympias, took first. So their rankings changed. Does that have anything to do with what we're about to say? I don't know. Probably a little bit, but there is some tea amongst the girlies.
For real. And this tea, it's crazy because my sister, Chloe, you guys know her. She's been on the pod. She helps us a lot with like all of the podcast stuff that you see. And so she's not a bodybuilder, but she is very immersed in the culture. I feel like
she's more immersed than me.
She sometimes knows more than we do, just because like this is her job now. Yeah. So she texts us in a group and was like, the wellness tea is piping hot on this post. Like they're fighting live. And I texted her and was like, get the stuff. She goes, oh, I'm already on it. I have it labeled. I have it numbered. It's in the folder. And I'm like, I love you.
I think before we talk about what they were talking about, I'm just a little shocked.
Yes,
I think, like I said before, it's like I'm a daughter of divorce, where it's like these are the two biggest faces of wellness. Like if you're the ones winning the Olympia, you're the standard, you're the set, you're who all of these other athletes look up to, where it's one of those things where it's like, I'm hesitant to talk about it because I'm hoping everything is resolved and everything is peaceful, but also like it's part of our job to cover things like this. So we need to talk about it. And it is really interesting because I feel like a lot of it just came out of nowhere. I think that's what was so shocking.
Yeah, but it's came out of nowhere for us fans.
Yeah.
Who, I don't know, is not like in the tea of it all, but obviously like there's a lot between them that's underneath that.
Yeah.
Of course we're never gonna know, you know.
You just see people like hugging on stage and you go, they must all get along.
Yeah, you're like, they're best friends.
Yeah. And also, and again, now we'll actually get into it, but they have the same, they're both with dark sports. So they've done photo shoots out of competing. And I'm like, how is this going to affect everything? It's crazy.
I know. That is crazy.
I'll let you talk more about the tea because I know you just read it.
Yes.
So you're more refreshed.
The way that I found it was actually through the Wellness Observer Live, who's basically does all the tea for wellness and how the girlies are looking, competing in and stuff like that. So that was a post, and the post that he made was talking about a deleted Fran comment. So we're going to share this all in our story. So it says Fran's response on Issa's post. And it says, I respect and always have respected my opponents on and off the stages too. Even last year when you went to question my husband about my kids screaming, I left quiet, unlike you who stayed the whole year saying it was for 1 point. This time it was also for 1 point, but that's it. So obviously, like when they're commenting, their comments are most of the time in Portuguese. Mm-hmm. So when we're translating them over, you know, sometimes they can sound a little bit different, and I don't know. Hopefully it doesn't change what they actually meant. After doing my research, I saw the date that one was posted and was like, smart. Okay, so let me go look and see the date of the post that could be the one that Issa did.
Yeah.
So it's the November 13th post, and it says top 2 in the world. And it's literally them on stage standing next to each other posing. And I don't know why she has these in quotation marks.
Where?
I'm not sure. See how she has it in quotation marks? It's this one.
Yeah.
So Issa says in here, I'm not going to read the whole thing. Rivalry has always been and always will be on stage, whether it's with Francielle or other wellness athletes. Healthy rivalry is great for the sport, for the category that's relatively new to the Olympia. Like it drives us. And basically she says, don't be afraid to be alongside the best on stage, because it is when competing with the greats that you discover your true strength, and it goes on and goes on. So I don't know if this is the original post that Fran saw, because obviously Fran is tagged in it because she's not tagged in it anymore, but because she's in the video with her. So I'm wondering, is this the original post? And then Fran saw that and made that comment about, I respect and always have respected my opponents on and off stage too. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. The thing we just read before. So, and that was deleted.
And then Issa's immediate response to Fran, which a lot of this was going on in the comments of the Wellness Observer Live page. It wasn't even in their own comments. Granted, I don't think it should be comments at all. And she does say in this response, she says, just like some of you, I also don't understand why Fran made this comment. I called her on WhatsApp to talk, which I do think that's the right way to handle anything. Mm-hmm. Even if someone says something and deletes it, like you guys have so many eyes on you that I do think like the right course of action would be like, hey, let's talk off of the internet, not in not a random page, but not in an external page comment section. Yeah. Anyway, she says, she said this in a video I posted, the last video on my feed. So yeah, it does seem like it is still up. And I didn't offend her at any time. Basically, I'm not going to feed into this is what she's saying. And then she kind of explained her side where at the last Olympia, many don't know, but I was insulted by people close to Fran. And it sounds like her kids were Fran's kids. This is all alleged. Maybe said something to Issa. And I think that's when Issa said something about like, why are your kids screaming at me? Yeah,
I'm wondering if it's, obviously we don't know the details. I'm wondering if it's more so because in 2023, Fran, that was the last time Fran won her reign. So I'm wondering if
I was off with dates.
Fran's kids were cheering for her mom and cheering against Issa not winning. Yeah. You know what I mean? Which I guess like, I'm not sure and how
Issa
old
says here, like during this interaction, Issa apologized and she said they had a photo shoot the next day and she apologized there as well.
And they were fine.
Like it seemed like this was all amended, especially if this was from an incident that happened, not saying like not saying if you're insulted by how someone talked to your kids or about your kids, like I get holding grudges. But I think, again, just talking about that off of the internet, like they are in close corners. They have similar sponsors. They do photo shoots together for the NPC and IFBB. Like, I think having conversations if something is still bothering you, and obviously fans are like hugely speculating because this is all something that has never happened before.
Yeah, and none of us will never really know what happened.
Yeah.
There's always three sides to the story. What happened for Issa and her personal experience, what happened for Fran and hers, and then the truth. Yeah. So...
And it seems like there's so, like, both of them are writing paragraph after paragraph, and it's a lot of like, I never said that. Yes, you did. I apologize. No, you didn't. Like, it's just a lot of back and forth. And a lot of fans are saying that it is like, I don't know. It's so weird that people are taking sides, but I guess that's in any like celebrity feud, right? Where some people are like, Issa's handling this well by saying like she's trying to talk off of the internet, and other people are like, yeah, if I was Fran, I'd be pissed too. Issa's been tagging her in all of these Olympia posts for months now. So it's like
but also, like,
it's so hard to
is Issa
know.
just tagging Francielle in all her posts because Fran is in the post? Like, isn't that just what you do?
Yeah.
But I understand that maybe if you have just lost a title that really meant a lot to you, and you're constantly getting reminded about the thing that's like upsetting you, I can understand that. But also, you never know if, like, is Issa doing that to be malicious? Yeah. Like, I would hope and pray that that's not the case. Genuinely, like, if you're in a photo and someone's in that photo, you tag them in the photo. You know what I mean? I don't.
It's so and
that's just good press, and that's just good for both of y'all's accounts. Honestly, I'm also seeing this one comment of Francielle, and she says, I'm back with this because you quoted me in your post about rivalry. Yeah. So is the quote from that post, was it from Fran? Is this quote about rivalry? And this is us trying to figure out what the heck is going on in real time.
That's why I was gonna say, like, I don't know what the right course of action for even sharing all of this is. I think going and reading it yourself as the listener, and forming your own opinions. Let us know your thoughts down below, because we're kind of in the same boats where we're all just fans of these people. So it's like, we don't know. We have no extra insight on anything. It's just like,
ooh, this is also some tea. So it turns out that a dark sport, you know how like they're both athletes for them. Yeah. And they had a photo shoot afterwards, like, of course, and Fran didn't show up to the dark sport shoot. Now, remember how when we did our last video and we were trying to think of like, well, why did she change her pose like that? You know, maybe there was something else going on. Like, we genuinely don't know. What people get so invested and think that, you know, these people's lives, you know, they share what they want to on social media. There's more under the surface than we can even, you know, realize. But there's a comment that says, someone commented back, some random person on Instagram, says, you really don't know how to lose. Why didn't you go to the wellness photo shoot? I was hoping to see you at the dark sport booth, and get a photo too. When Issa lost, she was applauding you. And then Fran answers that comment and says, you wanted to see me? My family and their sponsors know why I didn't go. On Friday during warm-up, before I went on stage, I started to get chambers, which were intensifying during the day. I had never experienced that. On Saturday, I couldn't get out of bed. No matter what movement I made, my room would start, and the worst part was nothing in my stomach, so I had a hard time rehydrating. So I'm genuinely wondering if what is chambers?
I just looked it up.
When I read that,
I think it's something, I mean, based on Google, it could be something with like the heart.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But I could be wrong.
I'm also, remember how when I was talking about my, how I felt when I went on stage, if she felt that way when she was on stage, oh God, I really hope that that's not the case, because that's not fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the thing. It's like you see on the outside everyone can make their own opinion, but you see on the outside, oh, Fran didn't show up to the dark sports shoot. Maybe she's just a sore loser.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, it's like,
she's a human.
you know, was it partially that, or was it just because she was going through this? You know, and nobody really knows that. So that's why, you know, just, you got to make up your own. You make up your own thing about it. And we're going to post all of, like, in order, the comments that they had back to each other. And just remember, like, be nice.
Oh yeah, don't go and like
bring nice.
Rehash this. I hope that they have resolved things or continue to resolve things like fully off the internet, because I do think it is important to the sport at least to be cordial with your competitors. Like, obviously we've seen it in some of the men divisions where like they talk shit and they like definitely put each other down, but at the same time it's always like this brotherhood, and we've always had like this sisterhood where it's like you're all just competing for the same title. You all have the same goals. You all have the same or similar hardships during your prep, and it's about like just support. It's just
also
weird seeing
about
not
like
support.
Representing the IFBB in the best way that you possibly can, so that that people are wanting to go into the sport and not expecting it to be like a mean girl club or whatever. Which I'm going to be honest, like, I have been backstage. I'm still a very new pro, and I have been backstage 3 pro shows. It's been fine for me. I haven't had any experiences yet of anyone, but I'm not an Olympian. I am not competing to be the top 5 in the world quite yet. So I don't know what it's like at in the back of the stage of a like Olympia, but I remember the Wellness Observer posted something along the lines, and I'm going to butcher it, so just don't quote me on this at all, but something along the lines of like the Brazilians, they you know, they take it seriously. Like, you don't mess with them. He said, you should see them backstage. There's daggers. And I'm like,
I do remember seeing that.
I was like, obviously I don't know. I'm never backstage. You've probably been backstage, but I'm like, I would hope not.
Yeah.
But then again, like, at the end of the day, it is a competition. These are your competitors.
Yeah.
You guys are fighting for number 1 in the world. That's a huge thing. But you can do that and still have your competitive edge, but not have daggers. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that just that rubbed me a little bit the wrong way. I was like, I don't like it. I think to kind of like close this out, someone left a comment that I think perfectly describes how people are feeling. And it's a little long, but I really wanted to read it to you. And it says, she tagged both of them. I typically don't comment much on stuff like this, but I have to say, as someone who dreams of even getting my pro card one day, let alone being a part of the Olympia, this makes me sad to see. Everyone knows your names. So many women and men look up to both of you, including myself. To see 2 of the most talented, hardworking, and gorgeous women in the world at each other like this takes away the beauty and authenticity of the sport. You both are incredible role models to so many people. You both have your reasons and your side of the story. But please don't forget that at the end of the day, as much as you are both pissed off and hurt, you both have a lot of fans and supporters that look up to you. This isn't how we settle disputes or arguments. You 2 should be friends. And this back and forth should be done in person and not on social media, because we all know how social media works. I hope one day I can see you both walk off stage holding hands and making amends. Both of you are strong women and you're better than this. I love you both. Always will. Love always, Natasha.
Natasha ate with that.
I was like, Natasha, someone give Natasha.
It's like well worded too in voice, because that really, that's how I feel at least.
Yeah,
it's kind of like,
that was eloquently put, where it was like, yes, you guys, you can have your beef, but it shouldn't have been on social media, you know, regardless. But sometimes when you act first on the emotion, you don't even think, you just start commenting back, you know, and I think maybe that was one of those moments.
Yeah, it's just like these competitors truly have so many eyes on them.
What we'll learn about this is that be nice, be kind, have your
Truly.
conversations, you know, if there's something that's bothering you. I mean, this is in and outside of bodybuilding. Just have that in-person conversation or a phone call. It's short-term uncomfortability for like long-term happiness. So many of us will just hide the way that we're feeling. And obviously, like whatever had did or didn't happen, it was still weighing heavy on both of their hearts.
Yeah.
So that it came back a year later. And, you know, I just want there to be girl gang back there, you know, in all of the shows and just with girls in general. So yeah, a little bit of a bummer, but I hope eventually that there's like a collab photo of them together and their besties and stuff. They don't have to be besties. That's the thing. It's like, I think that's the one thing that from her comment that I was like, we will hope that you guys can be friends. Like nobody needs to be forced to be friends with anybody, but for just the love for the love of the sport, you know, and to, you know, just for their own peace of mind to just have some sort of like, we don't have to be besties. We can be respectful competitors and duke it out on stage and then get off and be like, good job.
Yeah. It's just a respect thing, I think, over anything.
Well, that's a lot of bodybuilding tea
So
for
much
today. Jeez, guys. So yeah, let us know what you guys think below. Let's be nice. Let's be kind. Let's be cordial. Don't send anyone anything.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's going through their own thing and people make, you know, mistakes. We're all human. And yeah, we love you all so much. And you're more powerful than you think.
Bye.